Let's give Dan Castle another round. And Al Yankee. Al Yankee. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate his interpretation of life. We all have those lenses that we look through. And today we're going to look through rose-colored glasses. And we may be dancing like we've just been dancing right now. And somebody asked me, I was traveling, doing a little traveling, and they said, well, what state are you in? And I said, well, I'm in a state of joy. And at least for this week, well, at least for today, I'll give us that, at least, and at last, perhaps we can give up struggle. That's our invitation today. I think we can give up some struggle. And I had gone to the beach, and so from here, I just take the 91 and I stop. I go, when I get to the beach. Got to stop when I get to the ocean. And I decided that I wanted to have another bicycle, so I could keep one here, and we could go for bike rides at lunch. And Tricia Callan and I have been having our staff meetings over here in the park. We'll get on our tenny runners and go. And what I did was I accessorized it. I found one on Craigslist, and I accessorized it, and I got this little polite ding. And it doesn't bother my dog too much. Really, the bicycle's for my dog. And it's not too obnoxious. But what I did notice is, having been living in other states, that here people tend to drive more with their horn than sometimes with the gas. And so what we get to do today is give up struggle and to let go of us driving with our horn. And so at least for today, it would be great to do that for this week. And I was talking with my 94-year-old sister, who she adopted me as her sister, and I was talking with her on the phone as I was driving. And she told me about Sonny, who is their bus driver. And Sonny's bus driver, Sonny, the bus driver, had his daughter, Sophia, pass on due to an accident. And what happened was the retirement community that she lives in really rallied around him and provided him some compassionate care, and they provided him a safe place where he could land, and so that the people involved in the accident, so that they could have, so that he, in his own heart and his own mind, he got to a place where the people who were involved could have safe passage through his mind. And what he did was he made a choice. And if we look at some situations where we have to make a choice in our lives, if we have something rise up, hopefully not to that magnitude, but if we have something like that rise up, to allow ourselves to have safe passage through our mind, whether it's something with regards to our health, something with regards to our relationships, something with regards to our prosperity, so that if we look at, if I don't have safe passage, then there's my work. There's where I get to put on the gas and to let go of that horn. And not only did Sonny do a practice called Tonglen meditation, which he had the face in front of him as far as the people who were involved, and he said that he took on whatever that pain was, and he looked at that pain, he felt into it fully on the in-breath in this meditation. And then on the out-breath, he said loving kindness. He said forgiveness. He said, I wish you happiness and success. And it's very similar to the Ho'oponopono exercise in Hawaii. I'm part Hawaiian at heart. And Ho'oponopono is another exercise where you say to a person or to ourselves, I love you, I'm sorry, I forgive you, and thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, I forgive you, and thank you. And what that does, and there's even a video on YouTube that combines that exercise with an emotional freedom technique. It allows us to be free in ourselves and combining those, whatever modalities work for us. And so what Sonny did, and his life wasn't too sunny after the car wreck, what he did was he decided to found a nonprofit. And what the retirement home did was they raised it was 5 figures, so that he could do this and to help provide these types of forgiveness exercises. This place of compassion where people can come and be more mindful and meditate and have self-passage in their lives. So what he did was he took that painful situation, which had a lot of despair and resentment and bitterness and contention. He took that pain and he made it into something useful. He used it to benefit other people. And so he's had a lot of effects on many people's lives, and their lives are a lot more sunny because he made a commitment. He made a choice to press more on the gas and to move forward with what he knows is best in his life and that he can share. There was someone coming in the door today who says, my new mantra is, my new affirmation is being unstoppable. And I can imagine that he was unstoppable because he had a passion, he had an inspiration, it had a life of its own. And what he did was he followed through, he acted upon it. And so he's established that place wherein safety can take place. He established that safe passage, that place where people could come and have safe passage happen no matter what the situation. And so Dr. Ernest Holmes, who in our Declaration of Principles, the lesson that we're doing today, we're in the Global Vision, we're in a year of being part of the Global Vision, and that too is in your bulletin. It's really good to put on the refrigerator. And he says, we believe in the eternal goodness of life. We believe in the eternal goodness of life. So Sonny got to experience more goodness in that situation, and he had a greater sense of optimism in other areas of his life, and he did something with it. So he got to don his rose-colored glasses. He remembered, much like, does anyone like Elton John? You remember how he had all those gazillions of glasses? Oh yeah? Like, my life is too bright and I gotta wear shades. Well, and it's like when we ask ourselves, what's behind those foster grants? What was behind those foster grants for Sonny was an empowering optimism. He rose above, and what he did was he took his bad mood, because we all move through whatever those temporary things are, and he turned it into a place of good. He turned it into a good mood. So rose-colored glasses is oftentimes, it's called a smiling optimism. It's a place where we're, instead of looking through one lens, we have a wider view. We don't have tunnel vision, but we have a larger vision. And what we need to do is just shift our perception. And so that's what he did. The only thing between us and our good is our thoughts and our beliefs. We can see something as negative, we can see something as bad, and it seems like there's a lot of it when we're looking through that one lens. But as we widen our perception, widen our perspective with our rose-colored glasses, we get to shift our perception. And so the only thing that is between our good are our thoughts and our beliefs. And Dr. Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of the Science of Mind, a guide for spiritual living, he says, you are a part of the universal mind, one with the universal substance. You live, move, and have your being in pure spirit. All the wealth, the power, and the goodness of spirit exist at the center of your being. Your experience is good in such a degree as you accept, believe it, and feel it. So he moved beyond that bad mood. He took the value from it and moved into a good place, realizing that there is goodness. And there's a study that supports this. There's at the University of Toronto, there was some research that was done, and it says people who wear rose-colored glasses see more. And it's a study done in 2019, and I found it on ScienceDaily.com. So this study provides its direct evidence that our mood literally changes the way our visual system is utilized. It changes what we see. Our optimism changes. And so it's biological. It's not just a metaphor, but it's really a biological thing. It's sort of the forest and the trees, if we're focusing and we go tree, 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 rather than realizing that there's a whole forest there. Because there's a wider perspective. We come from that center of our being and we put on our rose-colored glasses of optimism and we say that good and bad moods, they literally change the way that our visual cortex operates and how we see. Specifically, that study showed that when people are in a positive mood, the visual cortex processes sensory information when in whether it's in good, whether it's in bad, sometimes we're neutral. They found that donning on those rose-colored glasses of a good mood, donning on that rose color, it's less about the color, but it's more about the expansiveness of the view. So the researchers showed that there were a series of images they did in this study, and they asked people to put their attention on a central image. It's like the trees. They put their attention on a central image. And it was a face, and it was surrounded by a place. Could be a place in Italy, could be a place in Hawaii. And what happened was when people were in a bad mood, all they saw was the face. They couldn't tell you what place it was at. So if we're able to see more of the forest and the surrounding pictures, the discovery from looking at different parts of the brain, it said that the parahippocampal, it kind of sounds like a song or something, right? The parahippocampal, that place area, so there's a known process on how this area relates to these primary visual sites that we have. Under positive moods, people may have a greater number in this area as it relates to their visual acuity, so that we have a larger point of view. So the first part, it's related to the vision, and so good moods enhance really the literal size or that window through which we see reality. It enlarges our window, it enlarges our view. And so the downside is if you're gonna, don't operate heavy machinery. We're all not going to go home and do that probably. But if you needed to focus on something, then of course you would focus on the tree. So if there's critical tasks, of course a narrow focus is useful, right? If you want to operate heavy machinery, or if you want to, if you say you're going through TSA, you're a TSA agent and need to screen baggage and look at the detail, right? So the downside is that it can be a distraction in that way. So we can use, in essence, all of our capacities. So bad moods, on the other hand, may keep us narrowly focused. However, good moods widen our perspective so that there's more possibilities. There's more opportunity. With those rose-colored glasses, we have that opportunity because people who wear rose-colored glasses see more. Dr. Ernest Holmes says to realize that God is ever present, ever available, is to know that all the wisdom, intelligence, and power of the universe is right where you are, the forest. This is why everything in your life depends upon your belief. Why it is done unto you as you believe. So to have that shift in mood by making a different choice. Change your belief and you change the world. You become unstoppable. So we're surrounded by infinite possibility. It's everywhere present. There's that which is within us at our very center, knowing that it is goodness, that there truly is a life which is good. And by expressing itself through us, we become more fully conscious of its being. We become more aware. And what I'd like us to do with putting our rose-colored glasses on is we have 3 take-homes. You ready for 3? Good? So we see everything from our own point of view. Number 1, Sonny could have stayed in a bad mood and wouldn't have done a whole lot of good for a lot of people, including himself. 2, when things happen in our lives, we tend to categorize them as bad or good because that's how we survive. That's what we do. And 3, even when things seem catastrophic, there is some good that comes out of it. Sonny went ahead and established that group, which made a lot of good for a lot of people. And God is good all the time, not just some of the time. Ernest Holmes says that we believe in the eternal goodness of life. So point number one is that we see everything from our own point of view. It's like, go figure, here we are. I show up as if I were rose-colored, I had rose-colored glasses on, and as if Rose were my last name, right? So I show up as Darlene Rose, and then we may have Jack Rose. We show up as whatever that lens is. And so we show up as if what we expect to anticipate and what we see. And as we don that good mood and those rose-colored glasses, then we see more. What we see in our outer world is a projection of what we are feeling in our inner world. We see everything from our own point of view. And Anthony de Mello, who's a Jesuit priest, he wrote the following vignette that illustrates this point. There's a student who said, "Why is everyone so happy except me?" Tree, 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 right? And the master said, "Because they have learned to see goodness and beauty everywhere." And the student says, "Well, why don't I see goodness and beauty everywhere?" And the master said, "Because you cannot see out of what you fail to see inside." It starts here, that good mood, that good nature, realizing that we are good. We fail because we're not seeing what's really truly inside. So in other words, we fail to see from within. And sometimes that's cultural, and we can let ourselves off the hook, and we can say that we never experience anything really externally because it depends on our point of view. And we live from within out, right? So point number one is we see everything from our own point of view. So when we are looking for imperfections in people, we'll find it. When I'm looking for wholeness, we'll find it. When I'm looking for the radiant light being that you are, I'll find that. When I'm looking for love, those mountains, that moves mountains. So do you want to be an imperfectionist and look for that which is imperfect, look for the problem rather than the solution? We live from within out, and we bring those solutions, we bring those possibilities and those opportunities. Point number two is when things happen in our life, we tend to categorize things as bad or good. We learn this process early in our childhood. You know, when a blue football team, blue, I won't say who's rooting for the Rams, who's rooting for the Raiders? Not yet, okay. I've been watching some Dodgers, though. I've been watching the Angels and watching the Dodgers. When the blue football team scores a touchdown, they're not good, while the red football team is bad. But it's not red or blue, it's just the touchdown just is. It just is a touchdown. When we back out of a situation for a few minutes, we can see what we have learned in a situation. We can say that either the blue team or the red team just is. The touchdown just is. And at the same time, we categorize things as bad. We categorize things as good. And so there was a group of folk who would go to brunch once a month after service. And what happened is everyone had a bunch of angst when we arrived at this restaurant. And we're thinking, we're a big group, you ought to seat us right now. You know, we need respect, we want you to pay attention to us. And what happened was they just didn't have the room available, but it was coming available very soon. And so what happened was, one of our people, Tom, had a health incident. And it was when we were in that private room, and had we been seated sooner, he might have been on the road going home. He might have caused some other grief. And so we don't know. There was, in essence, perfection in that situation. There was something that was greater that was happening, something larger than our just, you ought to treat us right, right? And so we know that on point number two, when things happen in our lives, we may categorize it as bad. In this case, it was good because it really worked out perfectly. He had the best possible care because there was the hot shots. I like the hot shots. They were right down the street, and they were able to come to his needs. They were able to meet his needs right there. And had he been on the road, he might have caused more accidents. Another example is when I was at another center, they had asked me to send a letter of interest, and so I did, and I thought, oh, this is good. Let me see what Spirit has to say about this. And what happened was there was a phone call, and it says, well, we're just not ready yet. And I thought, okay, well, all right, God's got something better in mind. God's got something better. And it's when we do our prayers, we say this or something greater. So knowing that there is this divine pattern which is unfolding. And so what's beautiful is that then there's more of a natural fit that happens. There's that divine unfoldment, and there's that place of I surrender to the power and the presence of Spirit. And I let that be and be in more of the flow. And so how are we choosing for that to happen in our life? How are we making these choices? How are you choosing to see things happen? Just remembering that we may say, oh, it's bad, or we may say that it's good. And point number 3 is even when things may seem catastrophic, like Sonny's daughter, like the gentleman like Tom, who had the best care, who knew? Even when things seem catastrophic, good comes out of it. And many of us have had friends who've lost a job. We've had friends who've lost a spouse. Friends who now may have a better job with more money. They may have a better relationship that gives more freedom, that has more love, that has more kindness, that has more compassion. And so looking back on it, they may assign what seemed like a bad situation. They may now be assigning, boy, now I'm stronger, now I'm more caring, now I'm more loving, I'm more open, I'm more willing, whatever that is. So there's a Zen saying that says, now that my house has burned down, I have a better view of the sky. Whoa. Yeah. And a friend of mine used to live in Glendora, and he had his house burned down. And he had a bunch of paintings, and he was an artist. And what happened was, it freed him up. He says, he put on his rose-colored glasses. I have always wanted to live in Maui. This frees me up. I get to be like the wilderness explorer, and I'm going to lead people on trails. I'm going to get them over here on the waterfall. We're going to go scuba diving. We're going to have a great time over at Longies and Lahaina, and now we're going to go up to Pineapple Hill, and I am free. What he did was he took a situation that many people may have dwelled upon, ruminated. Anyone ever ruminate? Sometimes I ruminate, and you need to get a room to ruminate. And the same thing happened so anyways, he's living a successful life, and I hope to come, maybe we can all have a field trip and go visit his retreat center over there. I think Alan Cohen's still over there. Let's go. So Sherlock Holmes had the same situation. He and Watson had gone camping. It's camping season. I was just up at Idlewild with the teens, and Sherlock Holmes had the same thing. And what they did was they wanted to see the stars, and so they pitched their tent so that they could see the stars and have this beautiful view, a larger view. And they put on their rose-colored glasses. And sometime in the middle of the night, what happened was Watson discovered, Sherlock says, Watson, look at the stars and tell me what you see. And so Watson says, well, I see wonderful stars, and around the stars there must be planets, and there must be other life like ours. And he went into this explanation of quantum physics and how it applied to his everyday life. And what happened was, Holmes said, well, it just really means that somebody stole our tent. Yeah, he got to have safe passage and through that mind. And there's a Chinese language symbol. So in the Chinese, it's so funny. I like to go thrift storing sometimes, and I got this thing at the thrift. It was like the children's hospital, so I felt altruistic too in the donation. And it was this beautiful. I could have worn it today. It would have been cooler. It has this kanji, or this Chinese symbol, that I took it to the counter and I said, do you know what this says? Should I really buy this? And it was by Chico's. You would think that Chico's wouldn't be making something that said something funny. And so I have a friend who's from Tokyo, and so he interpreted the kanji, or that symbol, and he says, well, it's Zen. So fortunately, and then I went back to the thrift store and said that, okay, tell Chico's that we're okay, we're good. So there's a Chinese language character for crisis, and so much like Sunny had a crisis and Tom, and we may have some things going on. People may have stolen our tents. Oh, in fact, if you go to a licensed practitioner, you may show up for affirmative prayer and to have a new, larger view. And I had a client come one time and they said, sometimes I feel like a teepee, sometimes I feel like a hut. And I said, I know, you're too tense, right? So sometimes, sometimes things appear to be crisis in our lives, and it's good to have a little levity to go along. And the same character in Chinese for chaos it's a combination of two other bits for crisis or chaos. Because things may not always be as smooth as we want them to be. We may be looking at the tree rather than the forest, realizing that there's other pathways. And so what that symbol for crisis is, it involves danger and at the same time opportunity. So that if we're more focused on our good mood with the opportunity, and when we do stuff in business, we have those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and in New Thought we don't do threats, but we do those strengths and opportunities. And so as we look at those opportunities, we have a conclusion that says, God is good all the time. Because there's something good that's rising out of this. There's something that we can allow to have safe passage through our minds. And when we're looking for those imperfections, we're going to find them. When we're looking for problems, yes, we'll find them. When we're looking around at our lives and seeing only all the negative things, we'll find more of them and we'll be looking for that. That's what we're looking for. And what if we looked at all these situations to ourselves and said, and we've heard it before, this too shall pass, and there's that neurobiology of the rose-colored glasses that supports us in saying, yes, we can have a larger view. We're equipped already. We're equipped. We can have a wider view as we put on our rose-colored glasses. And on my Facebook, and the first thing when I got here, I touched base with Al Yankee. And I said, gosh, could you noodle? Don't you love when he noodles? I said, I had this friend send me this thing, and it's on my Facebook. You can go look. And would you mind doing the noodle of what a wonderful world? Because it is this goodness that's eternal as we make those wider choices. And he says, look here, and it was the first sheet music that was on top. I love serendipity. I love that synchronicity. And so thank you for that. And it's this song of what a wonderful world, and it's Bette Midler, Olivia Newton-John, Cher, she's having her last concert again, Cher. She's coming back. And it has Goldie Hawn, it has some other folks in there, but it's probably decades old. And what they're singing is It's a Wonderful World. And this is the world that I choose to live in. This is the world that we can have. This is that place that I'm choosing. This is what I'm choosing to have. I'm choosing to be in that good mood place. And to know that, yes, it is a wonderful world. So our take-homes we have. And it's neat that people have asked about the CDs from last week, because we get to review where we are, and we're moving into either we have that victimhood that's in our culture, or we have that sense of trust and surrender that there is something larger. We're part of a larger point of view. And that as we let go of connection and realize that we're more empowered, as we let that connection come forward, that we're responsible, that we're more empowered, as we let go of whatever that blame is, that we can move into that good move, that things can happen by us and through us and as us. It's because we really are one with this life, which is very good. So our recap is that we can see everything from our own point of view. Isn't that a good thing? We can see a wider view. And when things happen in our lives, we can categorize them more as good, that there's something good that is happening right here and now. And even when things may seem like in discord or out of harmony, we can know that there is good that is coming to fruition. So the summary is that God is good all the time, and that we believe in this eternal goodness. And I invite us to say this affirmation. I want to say it 3 times. And if you'll say this after me, I look at my life. I look at my life and know that it is good. And know that it is good. I look at my life. I look at my life and know that it is good. And know that it is good. One more time. I look at my life and know that it is good. So just turning within in this moment of inward celebration, knowing that there is this wholeness which is rising up within us, that we are at this place of being centered, and knowing that there is a larger circumference, that there is this beauty which is showing up as a wonderful world as we are in more wonder. There is this vitality, there is vim, there is vigor, there is that which is enduring, and it is love which is the enduring presence and power, and being of this beautiful light which shines so brightly. It is this creative brilliance, knowing itself even more fully as itself. And just as there is the light that is within the stars, as we let go and let be, knowing that it is ours, there is this infinite presence which is showing up in all of its aliveness, in peaceful ways, in all ways, knowing that yes, the world is a bit more kind because I am in it, and I am of this beauty. I am in this world, but not so much of it. I am of this very power and this eternal life, this one life, which fills all of these crevices, which fills all of the spaces, knowing that it is a space of grace and infinite possibility. And being open and receptive to the opportunities which are unfolding and saying yes to the good, yes to that which allows me to be in an even more fulfilling mood and to feel a bit more lighter. I know that as I am lighter, so is the light shining brighter. And so there is this love which is abiding and being abounding and astounding in our life. And yes, it is resounding in this place, in this beautiful life. So I know there's well-being. There is my true essence, which is being itself even more fully. And in gratitude, in deep appreciation for our community gathering right here and now, knowing that it can't help but spill over into our daily lives and lift us up from this empowered place, filled with grace, filled with opportunity, and plenty of joy. And I release this word into the action of the law, knowing it is powerful, and I rely upon it, knowing that the eternal goodness is happening right here and right now. And so be it, and so I celebrate, and together we say, and so it is. Amen.